Hello, and welcome to another doggone episode of Furries in the Media, the series that reviews video clips based on how the furry fandom is represented. I'm your host, Abergwine, and I'm your co-host, Sam. And today, we'll take a look at a 1997 report from WSVN News.
Also, you say you'd rather be an animal than a person? Tonight, you're going to meet people who really believe in their heart of hearts that they are animals. So they dress like animals. This is no joke. Say they are one with nature. In fact, they say they are so much one with nature, they are not human. And they mean it. They want to be animals, so they dress as animals. It's bizarre, and we're going to bring it to you because it's bizarre. And people who wish they were animals. Tonight, the story of one sly little fox.
Please don't use that voice ever again. Alright, so they've gotten through their advertising blurbs to grab people's attention, so I guess I can kinda understand why they've introduced furries as people who believe they are animals. But surely they'll clear up the misconception and properly introduce these people as furries when they get around to introducing this story, right?
This is, without question, and we're sure you're going to agree, the story of the night. Do you love animals? Do you love animals so much that you might want to be an animal?
They're not going to introduce them as furries anytime soon, are they? Nope. Figured so.
Not me personally, but there are a lot of people out there who want to actually be their favorite furry creature. Not just every now and then, not just for special celebrations. No, they want to be animals all the time.
This anchor gets it. You're either a furry all the time, or you ain't a furry at all.
I'm a furry. My name is Sly Fox.
This is not a Halloween costume, and Sly Fox is not a professional mascot.
Some people like playing sports. I like dressing up in a costume and, acting like a fox in this case.
They got that right. Fursuits aren't the same as Halloween costumes, and most furries who do own suits, which for the record is not the majority of the people in the fandom, are not professional mascots. These are just people who do this sort of thing for fun.
Sly Fox is part of a growing subculture called Furries.
They finally introduced them as furries!
People who identify with animals so much, they would actually like to become one.
And then they went and messed it all up. Good job, guys. What's wrong with that description? Well, Sam, the problem with that description is that it actually better describes Therians, not furries. Now, I'm not a Therian, nor do I consider myself to be well-versed in Therianism, but from what I understand, Therians are more likely to self-identify as an animal, or otherwise incorporate some sort of animal being as part of their identity. Of course, there is some overlap of this into furry fandom, but wanting to be or identifying as an animal is not a defining trait of being a furry. So, what is a defining trait of a furry? The most significant defining trait of furry is being a fan of anthropomorphic animal characters. Other than that, there is no other requisite criteria if a person wants to call themselves a furry.
My name's Ratchet, and I'm a fox.
Ratchet just wears fox ears and a tail. He can't afford an entire suit.
I'm glad they included a person in their report who wasn't wearing a full animal costume. Now, I know that fursuits weren't as common back then, but even these days, there are more furries who own tails or ears than fursuits. And yes, fursuits are still expensive even today.
Ratchet says he picked the fox as his favorite animal because he thinks it fits his sly and clever personality.
There's no difference between myself and my character. It's who I am.
It seems like they've used this guy's statement to support the narrative that furries think or feel that they are not human. I think what they fail to communicate is that the character he's referring to is not just some generic fox, but probably his fursona. A fursona, a portmanteau of furry and persona, is an animal character that an individual furry creates to represent themselves. Like an avatar? Yeah, I guess you could think of it like an avatar. Some furries are more deeply attached to their personas than others. For some furries, they see their persona as completely separate from themselves, but for others, they see their persona as, it's just me, but with fur. And for others still, it's more of a spiritual connection. But of course, if the station hasn't bothered to explain any of this to their audience before now, I can't imagine that they're going to do so anytime soon.
So why does someone want to dress up and act like an animal?
This is a group of people that have as a common bond the need to use external things like an animal costume to help them express some of the internal feelings like confidence or playfulness.
Furries we talk to say they're shy and introverted in normal life, but as animals, they're more outgoing.
I agree with what Dr. Harmon says. Whether it's dressing in a costume or simply taking on a new character role, participating in furry fandom does allow people to explore the facets of themselves that they normally wouldn't have the opportunity to explore. But it seems that even the mere presence of the professional in this segment would imply to the audience that there's something inherently wrong with furries. Given that the furries don't have a chance to answer the question of why they do what they do, it also gives a vague impression that the furry's response would have to be deciphered by a professional for it to make any sense to the average audience member. But you gotta admire the fact that they did bring in an actual professional. Oh, absolutely! I'm thrilled that they brought in an actual professional and not some self-proclaimed sex therapist. But I think a better way they could have handled this segment would have been to pose the question to both parties, show the furry's response first, since they're the ones who should really be answering, and then have the professional's response serve as further clarification to the furry's response.
But furriness is not just about a love of cute little animals. For some, it's about getting in touch with their animal instincts.
On the net, I go by Mock Stormrunner. I'm a cheetah.
Mock, sporting a cat collar and clutching a stuffed animal, believes he's a cheetah in a human body.
Wait. Did this guy just say he's a cheetah? Yes, he did. But he's the only person in the story we've heard give this sort of response. Haven't you noticed that just about every other time they claim furries think they're animals, the claim has almost always been made by the person presenting the story and not direct quotes from any of the other people they interviewed? Huh, that's right. From what I see, this guy's story is the keystone that gives the narrative this whole report is based on that tiny little bit of credibility so that they're not telling a complete lie, they've just stretched the truth. A bit. Okay, a lot.
It's a fun thing to do. It's not like we're sick or demented or anything. It's just something that we just enjoy doing, like any other hobby.
Life pro tip: when you're explaining something new and you want a positive reaction from the person you're explaining it to, use terms with positive or at least neutral connotations. See, whatever words you use to describe what you're talking about is what that person will always associate with that topic. Let's examine what this guy says a little more closely and see what words he uses when talking about the furry fandom.
It's a fun thing to do. It's not like we're sick or demented or anything. It's just something that we just enjoy doing.
Fun and enjoy are great ones to work with, but sick and demented are definitely going to stick in people's minds and not leave a good impression. Now, this is not really a gripe against the news station or even against the guy they're interviewing, but I figured this would be a good teaching point to show what not to do if you have to explain what the furry fandom is.
Some furries say they wear their costumes to watch TV. They could be wearing them watching us right now.
Oh, don't flatter yourselves. But aren't you wearing a fursuit right now? Shut up, Sam. Now let's take a look at the review stats. Information accuracy is 50% and the spirit of the clip is 60%, giving us a total score of 55%. And now time for my thoughts. These guys really push the whole furries think they're animals angle. Like, way more than I've seen any other story push that angle. Either this news station just happened to interview a group of Therians who, by pure coincidence, mistakenly refer to themselves as furries, or, more likely, the news station needed something that would grab the audience's attention. So the station took the strangest detail they could from their findings and then made it the entire theme of their report using this guy's story to make it technically true. Because hey, no one at the time knows about these wacky animal people, so who's gonna know their story is based on factual error? It's not even that they failed to provide an accurate description of furries, because I could excuse that, but it seemed like just about any chance they got, they twisted their findings to fit this narrative that furries don't feel human. Even with the one guy who says he's a cheetah?
I'm a cheetah.
Mock, sporting a cat collar and clutching a stuffed animal, believes he's a cheetah in a human body.
Yeah, he says, I am a cheetah, but he's not the one to make the claim that he's a cheetah in a human body. That was the reporter saying that. Even in the most crucial piece of evidence that their entire claim is based on, it seems like it's still not enough for him to come out and say, I am a cheetah. Abergwine, is this news station really that evil? No, they're not evil. Forgive me for getting so worked up. I think they were just more interested in pumping up their viewership numbers, and if it meant stretching the truth to its breaking point, then so be it. I don't think they were out to get furries by showing this report. It seems like they had a goal they needed to accomplish, and furries being misrepresented, well, that's just collateral damage. Even if that did come back to haunt them later on, it wouldn't even be worth bringing up in the first place. Now, is this all to say that there are no furries who have a spiritual connection to their personas, or that no furry would ever want to be their persona species? No. There are definitely furries who feel that way, but I think what this report glossed over is that the furries who do feel that way are not in the majority of the fandom, nor is wanting to be an animal a defining feature of being a furry. Would you consider showing this clip to a newcomer? Nah. This report is centered on the false claim that furries are people who believe they are or want to become animals. I don't think the news station did it to be mean or anything, but it still doesn't help that they kept pushing a false narrative in order to sell the story. I think that if I were to show this clip to someone who is unfamiliar with the furry fandom, all it would do is give the wrong impression of the main idea behind furry fandom. Whether or not the station's intention with this story was to get better ratings, I think they would have been better off just reporting the truth in the first place. Well, that's it for today's episode of Furries in the Media. Have fun, stay awesome, bye-bye! Today's adjective, doggone, was chosen via Twitter poll. The result of that poll, doggone, 52%, exciting, 9%, enlightening, 39%. Thank you all for voting!